you'll never run out of options and you'll never be satisfied. I've just introduced you to a world of absolute dissatisfaction. Shall we talk about audio interfaces? For those of you who are not using a USB microphone, and that's really the subject for another video, but for those of you who are not, for those who are using the Shure SM57 that I recommended, or using a microphone like the one I'm talking into right now, how do you decide whether or not you need an audio interface, and how do you decide which one to get? Well, the whether or not is pretty easy. If it's not a USB mic, you need an interface. One of the questions I'm often asked is, isn't there an adapter that lets me plug my microphone into my computer? Well, yeah, an audio interface is the adapter, but there's not some little USB dongle thing. If you have a laptop that has a little microphone plug-in jack on it, for example, and you find some cheap mic off Amazon for $19, you would be way better off just dictating into your phone. It will sound better. So the short answer is, if you're going with a conventional microphone, you need an audio interface. There are 10 things you can ask yourself as you consider whether or not you need one and which one to get. Question number 1 would be, do I want the capability of choosing from a broad selection of high-quality microphones? If you want to do that, then yes, you absolutely want an audio interface, not a USB mic. The number of USB mics that are professional or at least semi-professional quality is few. There are some good ones, but I can only think of 3 off the top of my head. So you can ask me in the comments below. I'm not doing any of this because I'm sponsored by anybody. I just want to save the world one interface at a time. Question 2, do I want to be able to run a set of speakers? If the answer to that is yes, then I can't imagine running a decent set of speakers off of the little output, the headphone jack out of a USB mic. So if you want to be able to run a set of speakers, get an audio interface. Question 3, do I want to be able to drive quality headphones? I'll show you what I mean. These headphones right here, these are, what are these? AKG K701s. I love them. I want to marry them, but it takes quite a system. It takes a whole lot of oomph. It takes a whole lot of current to run these headphones and have them sound right. I'm not talking just about volume, but just the sound that they are capable of producing. So if you're going to use pretty high quality headphones and they are difficult ones to run, difficult ones to push enough current to, that would be worth knowing. Question 4, will I ever need to plug in more than one sound source? So if you intend to plug in more than one microphone, if you have 2 speakers, a podcaster and a guest, if you are streaming and you want to be able to plug in some of the sound coming back from the stream, you want to plug in sound from a phone, you want to add sound effects, you're a singer-songwriter, and you want to plug in your guitar and your voice. If you're ever going to have more than one source of sound, then you need an interface that has more than one microphone jack. I recommend that you go at least one more than you think you'll need. There are interfaces out there that are 1 input, 1 output. And some of them are $100, maybe $150. You can get refurbished or used ones for less than that. You could do that. But if you ever do have a guest or anything else, you might want to anticipate that. And sometimes it's a better value to get a 2 input than a 1 input, for example. Question 6, do I want the ability to send the output to more than one place or device? So am I going to send out to a pair of speakers and to something that's going to be broadcast and to some headphones and maybe to another digital recorder as a backup all at the same time? Good question to ask. Question 7, do I need to be able to capture the audio without plugging it into the wall, but just powering it from the computer via USB? So that's called bus power. The interface I'm going to show you in just a second can be bus powered, as can several others. If you're doing something that's going to require, 8 different microphone jacks, then bus power won't do that. But you kind of want to know that. Number 8, do I want a production software bundle? So do I want an interface that comes bundled with some software that's professional quality? Even if it's the light version, is it professional quality? Number 9, do I need an interface with built-in microphones as well as the capability of accepting other sound sources? So, for example, I've got a Zoom, I've used this a lot, an old Zoom H4n right here. It has a couple of built-in microphones. Here, I'll show it on down here lower. It has a couple of built-in microphones, but it also has XLR jacks. So I can plug in a couple of standard microphones and use the built-ins and these at the same time if I want, record to 4 channels at once, and this can function as an audio interface. So it's pretty slick. Can I record to an SD card? Yep. Can I battery power it for about 3 hours? Yep. Pretty slick. Does it sound as good as the ones I'm going to recommend? Not quite. Is it as easy to use? No. Does it come with bundled software? No. Does it start up fast so I can capture something? No. It starts up slow. It doesn't start up fast so you can capture something. But it can be handy. So you may need something like that. If you're out recording, wildlife sounds and then doing a podcast from the woods, you might want something like that. Zoom makes one. I'll think of what it's called. Something. It's called something. This is the H4n. I'll think of the other one. Question number 10. You think that this is question number 1, but this is question number 10. What's my budget? If I were you, if you came to me for advice, which people do, and they pay for it, and you don't have to right now. So if you came to me and said, I need an interface, but I need it to be X number of dollars, if that was within a certain range, I could make a recommendation for you. But it's way smarter to just say, okay, what am I trying to accomplish? I would always recommend buying something that is good quality first, even if it's not the best in its category. Spend enough money to get something that's good enough to sound at least fairly professional, and then go from there. You can always add to it later. But it's really hard to repair something that sounds like garbage at the beginning. So if you came to me and said, I'm just getting started, I will spend whatever money I have to reasonably spend to get this right, but I want to get it right. Absolutely. The first place I would send you is right to this device. I'm showing it on this little camera down here. This is a Focusrite Vocaster 2. I might be able to put it up in the air, but man, that's hard to do because I got cables coming out of it and I don't want to accidentally unplug them. The reason you love this is because for the money, it is just nothing short of astounding. You can tell it's real, and I've actually used it because it has fingerprints all over it. But Vocaster 2 has a couple of headphone outputs. Let me show you why that matters. On the back of this thing, you have host and guest. Now, really, this is just microphone input 1 and microphone input 2, but this is done with podcasting in mind, and so host and guest is an easy way to say it. But these are just 2 really good sounding microphone inputs. You can run them both at the same time, of course, but you also have separate control over headphone volume for the host and for the guest. Here's what's really interesting and why this is one of the first places I send people. Notice that we have a little camera icon right there. You can send whatever's coming into this interface out to a camera. If you have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera or something, and you're recording straight to that, that's fantastic. You can also bring a signal in from a phone via a wire, or, are you ready for this? You also have Bluetooth capability, so you can include phone conversations as part of what will be recorded, and you have speaker outputs. There's one more thing I'll show you about this Vocaster 2. You can see right now that as I'm speaking, it's showing the level of signal coming in. That's called the gain. So signal coming in is gain, signal going out can be adjusted as volume. But right here, I can enhance this by selecting different items. Like if you have a voice that's a little bit nasal or a little bit harsh, you can warm it up. I can make it sound a little bit brighter and add some high frequency stuff to it. I'm not going to do that. I like to leave it set right here on clean because this is unaltered. So the sound you're hearing right now is just what's coming out of my microphone. But this is worth showing you. Learning how to get the gain right, to get enough signal coming in that it's full and you don't pick up extraneous noise from outside of the microphone, but you're not overdriving it and making it clip or distort, can be difficult if you're just starting out. But if I click on this, it just runs it for a few seconds. And if I keep talking, it will automatically figure out about where I'm going to be, and it will set the gain for me. And I just don't have to mess with it. And it's really very accurate. You'll notice that it put me in about the same place that I was before. The rest of this, I'll let you explore on your own. But having good software control is one of the other reasons that I would recommend this one. For the money, I just can't see a better place to start. The interface of the year was made by the same company, Focusrite, and they made one called the Scarlett 2i2. 2 inputs, 2 outputs, 2 microphone jacks or instrument jacks, whichever you want them to be. You can do microphone or instrument jacks coming in, and then 2 output jacks to speakers. And of course, a headphone jack, only a single headphone jack. Fairly cheap, really fantastic. The reason I'm showing you Focusrite stuff right now is because that's what's in my studio. Why is it in my studio? Because I've used a bunch of other manufacturers, and I switched to Focusrite nearly 20 years ago, and I have had exactly 0 seconds worth of problems. And the sound is fantastic. I've used equipment that costs way more and doesn't sound as good. Am I endorsed by them? Nope. Am I getting any money from them? Nope. Do they know I'm alive? Nope. It's just really good. So I would send you to Focusrite. Now, there are some other really good ones. In my studio, I'll move this out of the way, but you can see my 18i8 right here. That means 18 inputs and 8 outputs. It's overkill for people just getting started, but if you want a recommendation for a really good studio piece, that's it. The interface of the year, the 2i2, can be bus powered, so you can power it from your computer or your iPad. The Zoom PodTrack P4, that's what I was trying to think of, the sort of successor to this H4n Pro. PodTrack P4, really slick. PreSonus makes good stuff. IK Multimedia makes good stuff. Lewitt makes really good stuff. If you see an interface on Amazon for $29, don't buy it. Find some other way of doing it. Just record on your phone. You really will be better off. In another video, I already recommended the Shure SM57 as a great all-around get-started mic. You pair that with something like this Vocaster 2 or the Focusrite 2i2, for example, and you're going to sound like $1 million. It's a great place to get started. If you say to me, yes, but how do I know that mic will sound good on my voice? It's probably the most likely to sound good on the greatest number of voices. Are there others that sound good that might sound even better than that with your voice? Yeah. There are hundreds of microphones. You'll never run out of options, and you'll never be satisfied. I've just introduced you to a world of absolute dissatisfaction, but I'm doing it for your sake. I want you to sound good and look good and change the world, in this case, one audio interface at a time. That's my goal, because I'm the sound advice guy. We'll talk again.